Hello, everybody. Seth and Veda here with the Integrative Science of Water and Consciousness podcast. And tonight's episode is going to be really, really neat. And it's going to be cool because it was inspired by a new member that came into the Water Consciousness Movement group the other day. So, a woman joined the group and she made her first post, and in the post she said that her son was having these really beautiful but intense experiences with water. He was clenching his fists and the water was moving. He was communicating with what he believed to be the water, and the water was communicating back to him. This is a young kid too. He's, I think, 10 maybe, she said. He's not very old. Um, and it took him back a little bit. His name is Tyler, I think. He was taken back by it and didn't say anything to his mother for a little bit. And you guys can read the post, it's in the group. And then he went home and took a shower and had another thing happen in the shower with the water. And it kind of got to him a little bit, you know. And then he started talking to his mother and explaining a little bit more about what he's experiencing and these things that are happening to him related to water, and how he has these visions where he can control or manipulate not just water but animals through water. And I'm sitting there reading this, I'm like, yes, this is what I love. I love topics like this, but it's also very unique because Veda, one of my nearest dearest friends in the world, who is one of the most gifted water researchers I know, but also she's gifted not just in her ability to research and understand water from a scientific and technical perspective, but she has a really deep intuitive connection with water that is amazing. It's phenomenal. I mean, it's to the degree where she's communicating with water and all kinds of really incredible phenomenon. But the beautiful thing about Veda and me and this kid and people who are really paying attention to this stuff. Sorry, there's something in my eye. I think I need more water in my eye to flush it out. But we all recognize that everybody alive has within them their own unique gifts, their own unique abilities to do whatever it may be in the world. It could span from the most fascinating out there to the most ordinary gifts, but it doesn't matter. We all have unique gifts and talents. And tonight, I want to talk to Veda about this topic, hydrokinesis, her ability to communicate with water, what she thinks could be going on with this boy, Tyler, and just kind of dive into this whole topic because it's so fascinating. So,
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
yes, no, yes, so you're feeling it. I
Yeah,
can tell. That's what
it
happens when you,
is.
yeah.
So, I guess my connection with water in this way started very young as well. There's lots of things I haven't told you, and lots of things I won't share in this group because they are also really personal, but I will share some. And my mother and I were very, very close, and a lot of things that she told me that happened with me when I was really young, I've never forgotten. And one of the very first things that she told me was when I was about 4 months old. She said she heard me talking, like kind of making these little noises. And so she came in, and I wasn't crying, I wasn't needing her, I was in my little cot, but I was talking. And she said she looked at my face, and my whole face was wet. She said
Mm.
she started to touch my face, and she said it was like there was dew all over my whole body. And she was like my hands and my little
Dew,
feet, like it was like that's how she
like
described
dew,
it. It
yeah.
was like little dewdrops all over my
Mm.
face and my body. It wasn't sweat. It wasn't like a glistening slow kind of, and it was also cold because it was in winter. It was, well, it must have been coming into like, just, it was still cooler, and it was in the evening. And she said it was really, really strange. She said it was like I was somehow talking to someone. And that wasn't the first time that happened, but I always thought it was odd that I would be covered in this liquid.
Mm.
And she said she just kind of wiped it off and, gave me a hug. And but I remembered that little thing because that was very unusual. And then I had this very unusual thing, which also scared me. So I can relate to the feeling of being a little bit nervous and afraid of water, but mine was quite different in that I have always had a really strange reaction when I've completely submerged my body in the sea. So as a little girl, the first time I ever got knocked over by a wave, I remember like feeling all this pain and screaming and running out up to the beach and telling my mum, Mummy, I've been stung by jellyfish. Because in my mind, that is what it felt like I was being stung everywhere. But she was checking me over and everything. There was nothing wrong with me. And so she said, oh, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. And so over the course of some years, I would go into the sea, but I wouldn't ever want to dive in. So I could paddle in the sea, I could do all kinds of stuff, but a couple of times I did get knocked over, and when my body was submerged in the ocean, it literally felt like I was being tasered. And so I got so traumatized by it because I wanted to go into the ocean because that's where I felt like I belonged. But my mum took me to a doctor, and she thought maybe we didn't know what was happening. And so the doctor listened to it all and took some did different tests with me, and the only thing that he could find slightly different is that I seemed to have some kind of higher electrical charge in my body. And
say that again. Wait, what electrical charge? I didn't understand. What word did you say before that? Higher.
Higher.
Okay, higher electrical charge. I didn't hear that word.
So there's some people that give off a lot of static energy. So it's sort of like, when you like give people electric shocks and things like that. So I was always one of those kind of people. And so, but to more of an extreme when I was younger. And so he thought, well, it was a long shot. He really didn't know, because the fact that I could paddle in the water and have no problems, it wasn't that I was having an allergic reaction to the seawater, this kind of thing. So, he suggested maybe it was because the seawater was salt. So I could be in the bath, I could be in water that hasn't got a high salt content, but, being fully submerged in the ocean was painful and scary because it hurt. And so once that happens more than once, you start like you expect that. So it felt really scary for me. And so I just sort of stopped doing that. And then I had a situation where when I was a teenager, I drowned and they couldn't find my body.
Wait, what? You actually drowned, or?
Oh yeah, it was in the news. So it was a long time ago now.
Yeah, you haven't told me a lot.
I used to ride horses a lot, and a friend's dad had taken us riding, and my friend and we were really hot. Like I was really not thinking that I would get submerged in the water. That's never my intention. I don't like it. And so the dad took the horses back, and her and I went down to the beach, and we went running down. We were really hot, so we ran into the sea, and I didn't realize how quickly it became so deep. And I felt something around my leg, and I remember feeling like I was being pulled down. And I didn't know what it was, and I was freaking out, and that was the last thing I remembered outside of being resuscitated and lying kind of like and seeing all these people in this and seeing the clouds. And obviously I'd sick and everything, but they didn't find my body for 3 hours. So I know I hadn't drowned for that long, or I wouldn't be here. Something else had happened. And then I remember being in the hospital and my mum saying to me, telling me that a few hundred meters up the beach, there were 2 dolphins that had been found, and they were dead. They were looked like they'd been slashed. And I remember being absolutely traumatized about that, much, much more than whatever had happened to me. That took me days and days and days to get back from. I felt so upset about that, and I had no memory. It was completely blank. I couldn't tell anybody what happened. I had no idea. So that kind of put me off the ocean as well. And so, it was almost like something I almost just wanted to forget. It started to feel like too much, and then over the course of time, other little things started to happen. But I always felt that the sea was calling me, that the sea had a voice that was saying something to me, and that the only reason that I was being called was because I was somehow part of it, and that this electrical charge in my body seemed to be the only thing preventing me from being part of the ocean, and yet that is part of the ocean, the salt. And so slowly I started to become more inquisitive about water. And I started with the water that didn't hurt me physically. Not that it was an intentional thing, but I have to tell you, it felt like being tasered. Not that I've ever been tasered, but that's what I imagine tasering.
I have. I can tell. I know what that's like. Unfortunately,
it wasn't pleasant.
Jeez.
And yet, once I was in Moorea in Tahiti. This is years ago. And the water is so beautiful. Oh my God. And I was on one of those amazing, little in the hotel that have the little houses on top of the water of the sea. And these little steps that go down. And I literally could hear the water saying, come to me, come to me. And it was like I was taken. It felt like literally the energy of the water reached out and grabbed me and was like enticing me down like these stairs. And so I went down and I went into the water and it didn't hurt. It was the only place in the world where I've been able to swim in the sea and swim freely like a mermaid or a dolphin and not be in pain. And it was so reassuring and so beautiful, and there was something very special about the whole energy of that place. So that gave me the confidence to start, feeling the real, true, deeper connection, because I believe that there is so much in the water, in the sea, that we do not know about. And it's very, very well hidden, and nature always hides her secrets well. So my whole story about how I got into water from the healing perspective of having been in a car accident and then having lots of operations and then having blood clots and then finding a natural high alkaline water that helped to heal me and expel all this glass out of my body. And then I trialed all these people, and this water seemed to help heal all these people. And that was a beautiful spring water. But the spring water has its own, that particular spring I found has its own voice. So it always felt like it chose me. It always felt like it knew it was safe with me and that I would protect it and that I would care for it and that I would see it for its energetic self. Because when I think about what you told me about the boy who felt a little freaked out, because if you read the post, it says that the boy asked the question of the water in the shower, if it was there or something like that, and the water started to become harder and faster on him, and it scared him. But in many ways, that is one way that water is literally speaking and saying yes. Yeah, it's just an affirmation to say yes, I'm here, and forming and holding those special deep connections with water is very important because we are our own water body. And if we can start at a young age recognizing that we're not just this solid meat suit, that everything, like I've said many times, we're a cut away from liquid and an emotion away from liquid, and we really are these walking liquid crystal solar panels, because we're salt, which is the crystal, and water, which is the water in the blood, and we are charged by light. So when you start to see that we're really a liquid being, and that our saliva is 99% water, our eyelids is 99% water, it is very interesting to then start going, okay, well, all the water we're surrounded by, that we bathe in, that we have experiences with, that we interact with, is also a body of water as such. Every single drop is having an experience, and in one drop there is like this ridiculous amount of water molecules. 6 tillionth something, some insane amount of molecules in one drop. So if you imagine that these molecules of water can have the potential to store information, then the idea that they could work together as a collective to communicate with us is not so radical.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is where things really started for me, is that when I started to work in the realm of crystallography and started to, because anyone that wants to know what I do, go and have a look at my page or look at some of the work that's on this page.
VedaAustin.com. Yes, her name.com. VedaAustin.com. Amazing, but go ahead.
Well, the work I started to do became basically a communication with water. And outside of water showing me, like actually showing me that it was aware. So the first question I ever asked, essentially without going into the great big thing of it,
I'm going to try to keep talking. I'm going to look and see if I can pull that image up on this.
Okay. I've probably got it on mine as well.
Yeah, I think
I've got it on mine if you don't have yours. So my first one was I wanted to see if water could store information at all. So I got a petri dish of water, and there was some fluff in the water, and so I put my hand in to take the fluff out, consciously thinking, I wonder if my hand will have any impact on the water's memory. And then I froze it and I pulled it out, and the image that Seth's looking for came up. Do you have it?
So yeah, right now it's half the screen is you, and the other half is this image of the hand.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I can't see it.
Yeah.
But so that hand was the first image that I ever saw, and then I kind of freaked out a little bit, and I was like, oh, yeah, maybe it's a coincidence. But I said to my son Rama, I showed him the photo, and I said, Rama, what does this look like? And he's like, oh, it's a hand, Mum. And so then I went down to the beach, and I got a little seawater, and I froze that. And then there was this incredible fish with a perfect eye and fins and a tail and the body. And then that really led me on an 8-year journey that is a
that picture's up journey. There now. Look at, so literally, Kate, like talk about it, this is just seawater, right? It's seawater, and there's a fish. It just.
But what's cool about that is that shows that it's what the water was holding, what the sea is showing us is what's in it. So it wasn't that it was influenced by me or my thought, or I wasn't thinking, show me a fish. I didn't actually think anything. I just simply thought, I wonder if seawater will do anything. So now I have everything from breaching whales to crabs and like all different kinds of stuff that is pretty remarkable. But I then started to work with water in multiple ways. I started to see if water would be influenced by a photo of someone. So then I have like put the petri dish of water on top of someone's photo for 30 seconds and then took it off and
Is this
and
Wendy?
then,
Is that the one, Wendy?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's one of them. And then would freeze it. I have a specific technique. I no longer just simply freeze water anymore. Uh, I I kind of don't want to get into all my work and all my
Okay.
process and stuff, because what I want to do is really focus on the relationship
Yes.
between, because I want to be able to give some ideas and thoughts for this person's son.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And
like
everybody
I'm
else
very much
too.
into it.
Everybody else, because that, like, yes, the boy is a great topic. It's a great starting point to all this. And also the idea here is to show how this boy's having an experience like that. Veda is like creating her life work, is doing stuff like this. It's influencing everybody to recognize that they have something in them that's tied to their intuition, that's tied to higher cognitive abilities, you could say, or dormant cognitive abilities that can be activated just by becoming aware of them. So I want to throw that in. Keep going. I'm
So,
fascinated as always. I'm just,
well,
I could do this. I wish we could do this forever. Just sit right
but
here and
it's meant to be fun. You
yeah.
know, you don't want to get and have like a love affair with water if it's going to be the most boring thing you ever did. I can guarantee you that will never happen. But so I started. One of the things where I guess I started to actually converse with water was because I'm not tied to any specific kind of way of just scientifically discovering anything or any of that kind of stuff. There's nothing stopping me from doing whatever I want, however I want to do it, and then telling everybody exactly what I'm seeing.
Mm.
So I started to communicate verbally with water. So I said to the water, I think one of the first verbal ones was something really simple. So you don't have these, I don't think, Seth.
All right.
But you have the third thing. So you can get ready for that. So for the first one, I just simply said hi to the water. And then I froze it using my technique, pulled it out and photographed it. And I got hi in English in letters in the ice. And then I did it again. But this time it's almost like each time it's like a different artist designing the image, but you still see what the image is. So the next time there was another hi, but this time it had like a little heart on top of the eye. And then I got a little more advanced and I said to the water, do you know who I am? And Seth can show you this one. I'm pretty sure you've got it,
Yeah.
which is where the water showed me my initials, VA, but in the exact way that I actually link them, which was really amazing to me, because there was, I haven't told you this, Seth, but I've done that test twice more, and I've got VA in them. Just like I said, each time, sometimes it's like a different artist, but each time I'm still seeing the same thing. And
Well,
so then,
is there any reason why people like Rupert Sheldrake, if people don't know who Rupert Sheldrake is, look this guy up. Gerald Pollack, there's a reason why these people are in communication with you and are, I don't want to use the word baffled, maybe they're like a mixture of baffled, amazed, intrigued, but engaged enough to the degree where they're stamping their seal of approval on the fact that this needs to be investigated much deeper than it is. That's profound. To have some of the world's leading minds in the world
yeah. Well,
backing this up.
I've always said this though. It doesn't, for me, I believe that if you have something that you can't stop thinking about, that is your passion, that just moves you, that enthralls you, that gives you joy, that makes you want to wake up and just share this and do this every day,
Yes.
it doesn't, that itself creates so much energy on its own that whoever comes in from that is simply drawn in by the energy of that passion and that truth.
Yes.
And so for me, I am just as happy if one of the children that I speak to at the school down the road comes up to me and goes, wow, this is amazing. I can't believe I have so much power inside of me to all the different scientists in the world, because that child is much a scientist as the person who's got the PhD and all the different stuff. For me, I'm so grateful that some of the science minds are really intrigued, and I think they can look at it by the sheer bulk, because I have like over 10,000 photos of water responding to consciousness in this way. That part just simply can't be ignored, because if it was just 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, maybe 10, you can't ignore the amount of work and how regularly it happens, nor the communication that I have. So Rupert Sheldrake.
Hold on a second. All right, wait. Let me just stop right there for a second. I want to point something out to everybody. Okay, the scientific work, all the stuff aside, do you guys see what she was just doing? Or more likely, do you feel what she was doing as she was explaining what kind of energy it takes to do this? And she just started lighting up. She's just like so in love. I could feel like the energy just goes up. And that, my friends, is a key element when it comes to discovering your own gifts, to creating new states of being, elevated states of being. Because when you love your creation, when you love what you're so into it, you transcend the confines of your previous belief systems, which keep you enslaved in a way, and you ascend or transcend the limits of your own mind, of your own past state of being, and you are in the present future, and you are creating. And it takes those elevated states of emotions that she was just delivering to do it. I'm telling, this is it. Like, that is a major, major key. But go ahead, Rupert Sheldrake.
Oh, I love him.
Yes,
I
me
met
too.
him last year at the
I'd ask for his hand in marriage if I could. Sorry. Bad joke. I said I'd ask for his hand in marriage if I could, but I was just totally off-color joke. Doesn't even fit.
Yeah, I have a big professional crush on Rupert. Anyway, so, but Rupert Sheldrake talks about morphic fields, and he is just such an amazing speaker, and he's funny, and he really is very, very well educated, and he talks about a lot of different things, and one of them, which I always found really interesting, although there are so many things, but he did because I can share this quickly, he did a study where they were studying the way in which animals are able to have a kind of telepathic relationship with their owners. And they filmed a dog that was sitting in a room, and the owner was like, okay, see you later, and the dog lay down, and it filmed the dog the whole time. So the dog just basically fell asleep and just lay down the whole time. The owner didn't know how long she was going for, and so as soon as the film crew said, okay, we're going to take you home now, that moment the dog got up and walked to the door and sat and was waiting for its owner. And so and that happened with multiple different kind of tests and examples with these dogs. So the relationship between the person that looked after the dog and the dog that loved the person, and both, I don't like the term owner and stuff like that. It just seems a little
caretaker.
We don't really own,
but
we care for them.
Yes,
and we love them, and so it was very interesting because it showed that there was a telepathic connection. And just like we have that gut feeling, when there's something wrong with our child, or if there's something wrong with a loved one, we have a sense for it.
Yeah,
and that sense is often can be hard to describe for some people. That he also did a study on, when you just kind of have just thought of somebody, or you just talked about that person, you haven't spoken to them, and then they'll call you. It's like, oh man, I was just thinking about you just the other day. And it's that kind of, he studies a lot of those things, which are really fascinating. So
Which ties in, for people who don't know, morphic fields. It's essentially, it's another way of stating the unified field theory, in that there is an invisible field of energy that links every single physical thing that appears, that everything is, it's interwoven within and around every single thing, and it links everything up. That's why evolutionary processes can happen at an expedited pace. Lots of different things come out of it, but that's what it is. Just people don't know. It's phenomenal, amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So back to water. I said hi. I said, do you know who I am? And then I thought, well, water kind of in many ways it's in so many states. And I think because we know so little about water, there are many more states of water that we haven't
Yes.
identified yet.
Yes.
So there's liquid, solid, gas, and then there's a type of gel, which Jerry Pollack talks about as the fourth phase of water. But I also think there are probably many, many, many more. Because water is very unusual and we know so little about it. So I thought, well, water, it's kind of like the veil in a way. And then it's also beyond the veil, and it's also here. So I thought, well, my mum died in 1999, and she was just a walking angel, most beautiful woman ever that graced this earth to me.
Yeah.
And she was my best friend. She was the most beautiful. Oh my God, my mum was so amazing. I love her so much. So grateful for her. And so I said to the water, I said, could you connect to my mum? And so I used to live in Japan, and Mum and I would send letters to each other because that was before emails. And and so
if only.
Every letter, when she at the end, she would have she'd draw a circle with a heart in it. And so when I asked the water to do this and I froze it and I pulled the image out, that's what I saw, was a circle with a heart in it. And then a year later I did the same thing and I got the same picture. Not identical, because it's never identical. Like I said, it's often like two different artists of painting or drawing or designing.
I've got one up here. I've got that. I think the one that you're talking about now. I can't emphasize enough this section of verbal communication you wrote.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So it's very, very powerful and meaningful to me. And recently I did a test for a friend's birthday, and he didn't know I was doing this part. So he is really, just as excited about water as I am. And so for his birthday, he asked me to put 2 petri dishes of water out and get people to send birthday wishes and well wishes for the world, and see what would happen in the water. But I knew his father had passed away the year before, so I had put another petri dish out that he didn't know about, and I said to the water, "Can you please connect to his name, his dad, and ask his dad to leave a message?" And so in the petri dish of water was this giant heart. It took up nearly the whole petri dish. It was so big and so beautiful, and I can send it to you so you can show it in the link. But what was fascinating was that the other petri dishes of water, I mean, I'd put the same amount of water in all the different petri dishes that I left out. And the one that had been used for this for his dad, essentially, had all of it almost disappeared. It was almost just like a mist of this heart that I managed to capture before it melted. And that was what was so crazy, is that for some reason, the water had evaporated out of that dish and all the others were the same. And I know my cat didn't get in there and drink it because he was outside, because that's happened before. And and so something had changed. Something had happened for that to have occurred. Something unique had happened. So there is undoubtedly, to me, a way in which water can so easily communicate with other water, which is what we are, essentially. Salt, minerals, water, and consciousness. And so I have stopped being, I'm no longer freaked out, because my imagery freaks a lot of people out. It's one of the first things many people say, is they actually get a little scared. They get a little scared when they see some of my work, because what it means is hard to grasp. And I understand that. And I'm definitely not here to convince anybody of anything, but I am here to show the work. And I am here as a voice in many ways, to allow water to have its voice. So I'm here I feel a responsibility. I feel that through the water inside of me and through the way in which water is speaking to me, I have got a very deep sense of responsibility to give water this platform to be able to be seen and appreciated and heard and valued in the way in which it really deserves. And for it to help us understand ourselves better. Because I feel that if we really want to understand the nature and the human being as such, or all nature essentially, because we're not, water doesn't care if it goes into the body of an ant or the body of a worm or the body of a person. It doesn't judge. It's transparent, just like the ultimate in being the most authentic you can be is to be transparent. It represents absolute non-judgment. It doesn't have, it doesn't know color, it doesn't know religion, it doesn't know any of these things. What it knows is to flow. And that is what I think is one of the greatest gifts that water can give us. Not only can it do all of these things and show us how to be in flow, in our most loving, non-judgmental, caring space for all nature, but also that it has an intelligence far beyond what we could ever comprehend, because we're so used to seeing ourselves as separate and seeing ourselves as in this body as who we identify with, but we see something that is fluid and moving outside of ourselves. I look at the raindrops that are on the window right there, and for me, I'm like, it's like a relationship, and I think that that's the key, is the building the relationship back to with what we are, because water is both our ancestors and our children and our future children and our emotions, and our relationship with water is so unique in that we can't live without it. By molecular count, we're 99% of it. It is us. It's in us. We drink a glass of water, it becomes us. Being mindful of the fact that just because it doesn't look like us doesn't mean that it doesn't have a type of intelligence is you're missing something big there. And so the work that I've been doing with water, the relationship that I've formed with water, and even now the relationship that I have with the ocean, is that a part of me deeply feels like that's where I belong. A part of me deeply feels that for whatever reason I'm forced to be here on this earth because I can't, apart from that one time, I'm physically forced not to go diving in the ocean where I feel that I should be. So I have to be here. And in that respect, I have a responsibility to my my relatives, my liquid flowing, incredible, dynamic, intelligent relatives that I get so emotional thinking about it, but
Oh
it kind of how everything all comes in
no,
waves.
it's
But
very
that's where
sobering.
I feel like if I don't do this work, if I can't, if I, all I can do is be the most passionate I can, the most loving, the most transparent, the most kind and compassionate that I can be, and strong as well, but not strong in that it's not always easy being the one that's saying, yeah, I speak to water and water gives me responses and this and this and this. And sure, some people are going to think I'm crazy, and I really don't care because my responsibility is to share the work, is to share the message, and I'm going to do that, and that's what I'm doing, and that is my gift. My
I
gift
I
is
I
to share.
see. I'm like it's so. I just the way you're sharing that, just the way like you know a little bit about me but I'm seeing your mother like literally to the left side of you. I'm seeing your ancestors around you as you're speaking, and I'm trying to hold it together to not like break out and cry because it's so powerful, you know.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel them too. So, and we're all connected. There's no doubt about that. And that's why I get excited, for that little boy because he has that wonderful connection, and I think it's a gift. And I remember playing with water when I was because I fly a lot. And I'm the woman that takes photographs when I'm in the airplane because if it's been raining, it kind of turns to crystal when
Yeah.
you're high up in the clouds. And when you're in an airplane, you can see these amazing crystals form. And so one day I was in a very sort of a specific kind of space, meditative maybe, something in between. And I got my finger up to because it's quite thick glass, and it's on the outside. So there's about this much space in between. So I put my finger up to the window, and it's crystal. It's like liquid crystal, like what I'm working with all
Mm.
the time. And I started moving my finger, and it was all following me. And I
Oh,
started to like create these designs, and it started to create the designs. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. We can all do this. This is our genuine connection that we can have with this incredible being that is water. And yes, okay, I do think that water is a living being, and many indigenous cultures do believe that. And I have had so much experience now that I can't deny that water is not only responsive to consciousness, but essentially either holds it or is it itself, and has an intelligence beyond what we've ever known, and has something to say, especially now. And I think these young children are starting to have their own experiences because we're coming into a whole new age, and this is going to be the age of water. I really believe that. Whereas water is so life giving and so life changing and so transformative that if we don't start studying it and observe it, and if we don't stop hurting it and polluting it, every time we hurt and pollute water, we're hurting and polluting ourselves. So we need to start looking at water in a whole new way. And my plan is to be part of that process, that this work helps people to connect and emotionally connect to water, saying, if I was to, for someone, for example, if they've lost somebody or they've had a child that they've lost or something like that, and to know that there is a way that child is still there in their water memories, and we hold that information inside of us. And I've shared this recently, but I'll share it again. I lost a baby once, and I took some of the blood and I froze it using my technique, and there was a beautiful, perfect little baby in the crystallography, the exact same sort of stage of the embryo formation as it was. And it made me realize that the memory, the sacredness of that child is stored within the liquid in me. And so the fact that we can also communicate in some way whereby an image can be revealed so beautifully and so kindly and so incredibly through art that we can see it. And then when you see something that matters to you, that influences you, that impacts you, you will care. You will care about it. And it will matter to you, because half the time only things that ever matter, that we pay attention to, are the things that interest us or that matter to us.
Yeah.
And water is so taken for granted so often. And I think if we just start realizing that it is magical, it is like the most incredible thing in this whole wide world, that it's the life giver of this planet. It's what makes our planet so incredibly beautiful and alive. It's why there are thousands and thousands of species on this planet. It's why we can communicate. It's why we are able to go and lie out in the grass and breathe the fresh air and have rain shower upon us. And it's why we can go diving and see all of the different fish and the whales and the dolphins and the life. And if we don't start looking after it, that's what we're not going to have anymore. We're going to kill all of it. We've already started to do that. And so I encourage everybody to find within them the part of them that loves not only the water outside of themselves, but starts to love the water inside of themselves, because it's got to start with us inside. And when you're in the shower, my suggestion is that you see the steam that is created on the shower glass.
Yeah.
Start writing to the water in that and see what it does. I do that every night. I always write something for the water in the steam in my shower. And if there's something you just do a part or a pattern or something for the water, because that's a lovely way we can connect and give something back. I think it's time we start giving back, honestly.
Well, I don't have anything to say. I mean, I'm just floored. I'm like, literally, I'm in such a deep state of feeling this incredibly powerful message that you just conveyed, that I'm kind of humbled beyond even speaking. So thank you. And all right, let me come back here for a second. What she shared here tonight, everybody, is so powerful, and I urge you to go back and listen to this multiple times if you feel compelled to, and listen to it not with, the normal way of comprehending things. Listen to it from a feeling-oriented perspective. Feel it, listen to it, get into that kind of zone, and you'll be amazed at what will come up, because I just literally was transported to a completely other place that is not an other place. It's right here. It's always right here. But in our normal state of egoic perception, or believing that we're this person having this human experience, we're not aware of these morphogenic fields. We're not aware of this unified field of energy that connects everything throughout all space and time. And when you get around certain people who can get out of themselves, they can get out of their own way, then the feeling of that field just arises to the surface of our own being naturally. Our body, this human body, which is, I don't want to use the word of technology, but it is the highest level organic instrument to allow this soul that is animating it to evolve and grow. When we get out of our own way and we let this energy flow through our body, then we become aware of everything. And when we become aware of everything, things start to happen, because whatever that everything is, it starts to become aware of us. So everything you just shared tonight is so powerful and so beautiful. And again, these are all different keys and clues and things that an individual can take to heart, can take to mind, can listen to, and if they really do it with that love and that creation, that joy in their heart, and they're impassioned by it, their own gifts will surface as a result of all these amazing things that Veda shared with us tonight. So thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And now I'm going to take my beautiful daughter out for a ladies' lunch. We're going to have cake and tea.
Oh, well, virtually share a little bit with me. I know you're in New Zealand, I'm in Maine. If we could just stick it through the computer, I would love to try some. So,
Of course.
Ah,
All right. Well,
thank you,
thank you so
Veda.
much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. As always, like this video. If you love it, love it. You know, just also to people don't know, with these search algorithms for social media, if you are watching something and you don't engage with it, then you're not helping the people who are creating content. So by liking it, commenting on it, doing some kind of activity with it, that's what the AI picks up as human activity, is what gives this content life, bringing it out there to be seen to a greater audience. So we're into organic food, organic water. We're into organic traffic too. So,
All right.
thank you
Well,
guys. We
thank
love
you,
you.
everyone.
And till next time, you can find us here. You can whatever this group is called. I'm still so like in another world. It's hard. The Water Consciousness Movement Facebook group, Veda Austin, VedaAustin.com. I'm awake now what.com and tourmalinespring.com. We love you guys. We'll see you next time. Thank you. Thank you, Veda. Thank you.
Sure.
Right. Thank you for listening to the Integrative Science of Water and Consciousness podcast with Veda Austin and Seth Pruzansky. If you'd like to know more about Veda Austin, please go to VedaAustin.com. To learn more about Seth and Tourmaline Spring, go to tourmalinespring.com and I'mAwakeNowWhat.com. You'll also be able to find copies of this podcast and back issues at all of the websites we listed above. Thank you.